Hi guys, and welcome to episode 2 of reading 50 books in 50 days. It's gonna be an extremely long one, so let's just directly get into what's probably gonna be a really fun video. Now I am recording this intro after I've gone ahead and recorded everything in the video because I forgot to come and give it, but essentially the way I'm going about this challenge is reading 50 books in 50 days, broken up week by week. So there's going to be 7 episodes total for the 7 weeks that it's going to take me to read these 50 books, and this is going to be episode 2 for week 2. If you want to go catch up on week 1, it's got like a different title and thumbnail, but it is up on my channel. I'll have it on screen for you. And because this is week 2, I'm going to continue reading some more books to add up to the challenge because I've already read 7 books for week 1. Now we're going to be reading 7 for week 2, so that we have a total of 14 done out of my 50 by the end of this week. And so just making my way, kind of slowly trying to break down that challenge and get through with it. But as we do that, I kind of want to get through my TBR. I did go ahead and start recording and reading for this video on vacation, but I didn't record any talking clips. So now you will jump directly to a Thursday, middle of the week, when I'm actually trying to catch up on my reading, because like I said, I started reading for these books on vacation. I didn't necessarily finish them, and there's a lot of hectic stuff going on because now at the point that you'll watch me in the video, I have to finish all 7 books in the span of 3 days because I started them all on vacation. I just didn't get around to completely reading them out. So while I did start this video on a Sunday on vacation to kind of start it off, you will now see me on a Thursday kind of continuing the books because I didn't get around to finishing any of them for the first half of the week. And so it's cram time now. Let's just directly get into it, and I'll see you guys hopefully very soon. Hi guys, so since it's the morning right after I came back from the whole traveling yesterday, I haven't got a lot unpacked. I just messily did my tripod, so if the camera angle or whatever looks haphazard, please ignore it because I'll come set it up properly when I come back later. However, now, again, ignore my hair too, it's wet. I have just I'm almost done getting ready, going to the passport office. I'm waiting on my parents and I'll do the last couple of things. And you know, after we do that, that's where my entire day is going probably because I need to get mine renewed. So while I go do all of that, I figured it's gonna take a while at the office, and so I want to get some reading in over there. So we'll see how much I actually end up doing. My Kindle is not charged from the trip, it's completely died out, so I think we have like half an hour before we leave, which is why I think I'll keep it to charge right now and then take it with me or whatever. Otherwise I'll read on my phone if you know that doesn't happen. But regardless, I want to get in some reading, so we'll see what we can do because the place is an hour away as well. Maybe I can get a couple audiobooks in, maybe I can get some of the ones I'm already in the middle of through, and that'll be really good progress because there's nothing like finishing a good book when you don't even expect to do it. So we're gonna see how that goes, and I'll see you guys hopefully when I come back later in. But yeah, this was my quick haphazard update that I figured I'd record before I start fully getting ready and then completely forget about it in the haste of running and kind of making it early there. So see you guys hopefully in a bit. Bye. Hi guys, so it is in fact the same day, the same night technically. I have gotten a change of clothes, but ignore that. Also ignore the fact that I look like absolute trash right now. I'm too tired to kind of fix anything about it. It's past 1:30 in the morning, so we're gonna move past that and ignore it or whatever. Also ignore the fact that my hair is like this. Again, not gonna do anything about it. But now for some book updates. I don't know if I mentioned it, but yesterday I actually got back from my month-long vacation trip and we were doing a road trip, so I kind of started an audiobook on the drive there, which I ended up finishing out on our drive today, since I didn't finish the whole thing yesterday on our drive back. Now, I don't know if that's a lot of me using the word drive and kind of confusing, but basically I started listening to Survive the Night by Riley Sager on my trip back home, and then because it wasn't done, because I still had like half an hour or something like that left on the audiobook, I listened to the last like remaining bit today on our way to the passport office. This is the only reading I've gotten all day long, which means we're gonna have to grind out the next couple books in the span of literally tonight and tomorrow, which is gonna be a problem for future me, not right now. So me in a couple hours will worry about that. Me right now, it's time to give you kind of like an update on my thoughts on this book. So I don't know if I've mentioned it, but because we were doing the road trip, what I personally like doing is picking out audiobooks that kind of give me road trip vibes, because I did this last time when I was coming on vacation, or coming back from it technically, wherein I listened to No Exit by Taylor Adams, and it was set kind of in like a car but then also like a rest stop, and it was giving me the vibes I wanted because there was like a blizzard going on and we were coming back in December. Gave me the perfect kind of weather atmosphere as well. And so this time I specifically went out of my way to look something that takes place kind of in like this road trip setting, wherein there's like a car and they're going from point A to point B, so I can kind of relate to it as I'm also taking my road trip, which is why I actually picked up this book in the first place. This author is very popular online, and I don't really know, I don't get the hype as of right now because I have gone ahead and finished listening to the book out today. And so for summary before anything, this book follows this girl called Charlie. She's kind of doing this rideshare thing from college, wherein she needs to get back to her hometown ASAP, and so she's kind of ride sharing with this guy she met on campus, Josh, who also has like a similar reason or whatever to kind of get back home. And because they live close to each other, whatever, he's gonna give her a ride there and she's gonna split like gas costs or whatever with him. Except when she gets in the car with him, she realizes she doesn't really know anything about the guy except for the fact that she met him on campus. She doesn't really have acquaintances that know him or whatever. She doesn't know him as such in the sense that they've got this vague hi hello thing going on. She literally just doesn't know this guy. He's a perfect stranger. And so when she steps into his car, she's already just looking out for clues that something might be off, because recently there was someone called the campus killer who kind of struck in their school, wherein this person has been murdering off girls, kind of taking them as victims and doing what they have to do. And so she, as the trip progresses or whatever, she realizes she probably shouldn't have gotten in the car with him, because the topics they start off fine, but then their discussions turn more morbid, and suddenly this guy is kind of revealing clues as to maybe him pointing towards being the campus killer, which is crazy because he actually knows certain details about the campus killer that wasn't revealed by the police or whatever. Only this girl Charlie knows, because she had her own kind of brush off with the campus killer, a near death experience or whatever. And so going off of that, she's kind of starting to wonder if he is the campus killer and if she could be his next victim. But as she's starting to suspect that he is, he's starting to suspect that she knows his secret identity, and so she has to kind of play her game right, kind of play her cards right, so she does not end up his next victim. Because we all know who he is, we all know he's got her in the car now for like a stretch of maybe 6 odd hours kind of roadway or whatever. He can do whatever he wants. He's more powerful in terms of like body or whatever, stronger, and so he can overpower her, which means she needs to think smart and kind of work her way out of it before she kind of ends up regretting and losing her life. Now, can I just say one thing on my thoughts on this book? 70% of it was so dull. It was so repetitive. I mean, I don't want to be mean right now. Obviously our main character has a mental illness, but I hate it when we have unreliable narrators portrayed in books, because that kind of makes you go back on everything you've read in the worst way possible. So this book essentially was one chapter of something, and then the next chapter is gaslighting you about the chapter you previously read, and then the next chapter confirms the first chapter, and then the chapter after that is gaslighting again. So the whole point of this book honestly felt very scattered and jumbled, simply because she has a mental illness. I feel like all of it was being thrown as reasoning on that, and then along with that she didn't really end up getting help for it. It was just kind of using it as a plot point to go ahead, but also it wasn't very structured in the sense that there was too much going on, and I feel like it didn't really make cohesive sense. Also, I didn't really like the going back and forth between is she lying, is she not lying, is she remembering correct, is she not remembering correct, and so basically I didn't have the best time. The first 70%, like I said, was so dull because it was basically like monotone repetition of all of this. And so I'm not even joking, in the car I snoozed off a couple times on the way here from my trip while I was listening to the book, simply because it didn't hold my attention. I literally, when I wake up from like my 5-minute naps or whatever, kind of listen to the audiobook again, wonder how it's gone to where we are right now. I'd have to actually go back and rewind, find my spot again, which was kind of annoying. It kind of worsened my experience, and so I didn't have the best time reading this one. Honestly, a lot about it didn't really click with me, and I will say it was very predictable because you are kind of introduced to only a smaller set of characters or whatever. The cast of characters, there's maybe 4 people, so it's very easy to guess where the storyline pans out. I feel like in about 50 pages I guessed the entire plot of it, and when it got over, listen, I called it. I called the entire thing from the start, so it's crazy. There wasn't much like surprise element to it or whatever. There was only one thing at the end that was like a smaller thing in the very last chapter that I didn't really see coming, so that was alright. But apart from that, everything else I got, it wasn't really my cup of tea. I was bored throughout majority of it, and so while I have heard this author's other books are better and I would like to try them at some point, this just wasn't it for me. But the car vibes were giving, so that was a good time. And I had a fun time kind of listening to it on my road trip, kind of narrating a similar experience and having fun in that sense. It was also very much a book wherein she's purposely cornering herself into a situation wherein she's dumb and she can't really escape it, so that wasn't the best time, but also kind of trying to get out of the situation where she's thrown herself back in a mess. That was kind of fun to go along with. So my review is also very scattered, but basically all in all to say, I did have a great time with the thriller mystery plot of it or whatever, but I did have a good time with the vibes of it, the car setting or whatever. So only because of that, I'm going to give this book 3 stars. Otherwise it would have been 2.5. If I would have listened at any other point, say when I was at home or whatever, it definitely would have been like 2.5, but only because I listened in the car and it gave me what it had to in the moment, I'm going to say 3 and we'll move on because I don't want to be too much of a harsh rater. But this, it wasn't technically totally my cup of tea, so if you want to read it you can, but it isn't the best time per se because it's very simple. The conclusion to it, I would have expected more, and I guess most of it. Now moving on to our next book, since I am already in the middle of so many books at this point, I'm gonna go look at my Goodreads, whatever I'm in the mood for. I still want to stay up and at least finish one book out before I go to bed because I have an early morning tomorrow, so at some point I will have to go, but until I go do that, I'll go pick up a book and I'll see you guys hopefully very soon with updates on that. Maybe not tonight because it is later, so maybe I'll see you tomorrow with updates on whatever I end up reading. But so far we've got one book checked off. I'm starting to wonder and worry about how this video is going to pan out, but regardless, I'm gonna see what I'm gonna do about it, and I'll see you guys hopefully in a little bit with updates on our progress or whatever. Bye. Hi guys, so it's kind of like the next morning I guess you can say, because it's 1:15 a.m. so Friday is officially over. We are on to Saturday now, which is crazy because now this is gonna be our last day, and so far we finished only like one book officially in the video. I have read one more, but for updates. Now is the time that I actually have to buck up and actually worry because I need to get my reading in one day and I have to read like a bunch of books, so I'm scared. But maybe this wasn't the right week to start filming it in the first place because I've been busy like literally every other day. Wednesday we came back, Thursday was passport office day, today Friday was something else, and then tomorrow I have like a school related event, which is crazy. So it really depends on my timing as fast as I can get it done. But since last time I came and spoke to you, last night I stayed up till like maybe 2:30ish or something like that, kind of finishing out the Front Runner, which is the third book in Elsie Silver's first series. And because she's like a top author, I'm kind of trying to get through her backlist so I can say I've read all of her books because I binged them genuinely. And so let's talk about basically the Front Runner, third book in the Goldrush Ranch series. This book follows this girl who's like this vet or whatever, and she works at the Harding Ranch. So basically the brothers from book 1 and book 2, she works at their ranch as a vet. And on the other hand we have Stefan, who is kind of like public enemy number 1. Since book 1 and book 2 everyone hates him and calls him this like slimy snake in the grass because he's made some shady deals, and so no one really likes him. And basically it's kind of like the story of the two of them, because one day something happens and suddenly a young horse, I think it's called a foal, its life is on the line. And so the vet girl, she kind of makes this deal with Stefan to kind of save the baby horse's life or whatever, because Stefan is the only one who can help in doing so. But he, on his part of the deal, kind of says that she needs to go on 3 fake dates with him, kind of just go out or whatever, and only if she agrees to that will he agree to kind of helping to save the horse. And because she's got like a heart of gold and as a vet she has kind of like that compassion for animals, she agrees. So they start going on those fake dates, except as it turns out he isn't like public enemy number 1 as he's made out to be. He's more complicated and nuanced in the sense that everyone thinks he's a bad guy. He's actually really nice and he's like a huge softie, but no one really understands that part of him, only she does. And so it kind of goes on, their relationship in secret, they start to fall for each other. But can she really fall for her best friends? enemy, and can he fall for someone who is not ready to be with him out in public? She's keeping it secret so she can kind of maintain her friend group status or whatever. So it's very interesting, the I guess story plotline of this. But I will say personally, this might have been, along with Off to the Races, the first book in the series, my least favorite Elsie book till date so far, because the concept and the premise are so cool. I was waiting for their book, and so it was fun to kind of read it. But every single time they kind of stereotyped him as a bad guy. I'll be so honest, the thing he has actually done in book 1 isn't that bad. According to me, it's just business, and if you cannot handle it, you do not deserve to technically stay in the industry to begin with. So I never actually saw him as a bad guy, but then the whole throwing that appeal in this book, it put me off my game and I didn't enjoy it. I feel like it actually threw everything off and I hated every second. And then not just that, there's also the two of their dynamic or whatever. I don't think they're very well suited because the attraction is like physical off the bat, and then going on the top of that, they both feel very toxic for each other in the sense that she doesn't want to be seen with him publicly or associate with him because of his friends or whatever, and he just wants a little too much too fast. And so I don't know what's going on. I feel like even midway, I feel like the whole plotline got switched and their characters, I'm not even joking, they like flipped on the end. So what we know about them kind of changed, and suddenly he's the aloof one, she's the one desperate after him, and the whole third act conflict ruined the book. Because where did that come from? Why did that happen? I still think the girl, she had nothing wrong whatsoever. He needs to deal with this shit. And so I hated everything about this book. I didn't really like the characters, and it wasn't for me, unfortunately. And even though I'm a wide Elsie fan, this is like my 10th book by her, unfortunately this wasn't the one. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars and we'll move on, because truly I didn't really enjoy it, so I don't really see the point in speaking about it. One thing I do want to mention though is that the girl from the first book, I believe, was called Billy. She shows up a lot in this book and she criticizes him a lot, even though he's kind of doing her the favor of saving that horse and he's not really such a bad guy. And so she keeps shitting on him and Mira and Stefan's relationship all the time, and it's really annoying to me because of what Billy's saying. Mira's kind of scared to be with Stefan in public, and because of that it's ruining whole ass lives, which is why I kind of hate Billy now. Because when I read the first book, I didn't really have strong feelings towards her. Now though, her stance on their relationship, which she's not part of, so she doesn't really have, I guess, judgment range or whatever. She should not be voicing her opinions in a way that's hurting her friend. I don't know, I just feel like she should grow up and move on, because her character was just made so much worse in this book. Like, she was alright, she's portrayed as the crazy lady, and I feel like this is very pre-Villa, so Villa from Heartless Times. She has done so much better. Billy is just not. Billy, in my opinion, is a wannabe Villa, and the character execution is really poor, because in this book I came to hate her so much. What she's doing with kind of like voicing her judgment in public or whatever and showing complete disdain is ruining lives. Grow up, mature, and move on while you still can, because if you cannot adjust to the industry, you just do not belong in it. So that kind of ruined the whole book for me, and yeah, I hated almost every second of it. Truly, I hope the next one is, fun or whatever, because I am seeing potential for it. But also, if this is the way it is, I don't really like the series very much. The only one I really liked in it so far was book 2, which was Violet and Cole's story. And so here we are. So I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna pick up the next book and see you guys hopefully in a bit with more success story on that, because so far the books in this video just aren't doing it for me. Earlier today, like I said, I had that thing. We left home in the morning at around 8:30 and we got back at about 7 in the evening. And so because of that, I was out potentially the whole day. And then, when I got back, I ended up taking a nap because I was too dead tired. I had only 3 hours of sleep in me. But regardless of that, because I was out the whole day, I kind of had my phone and I was reading on the Kindle app. Thank God for that. And so I have gotten a decent amount of progress on our next book, which is this one. So I'm gonna go keep reading and finish it out now and see you guys in not so long, because I don't have a lot left considering I've been reading it in terms of intervals throughout the entire day. And so once I'm done, I'll come speak about it with you. But so far, things are not looking up for this video and I'm really frightened. So see you guys in a bit. Bye. Hi guys, it isn't so long later. I just realized I had a couple chapters left, so the best feeling in the world is curling up, finishing a book you didn't even realize was nearly done, and suddenly another book is done. So we are now running 3 out of 7, which is great if I really want to consider it, because I still have 4 more to get to in the span of tomorrow only. So we'll see about that, but for now I have gone ahead and finished reading the Ghostwriter. Before anything, can I address the fact that now I actually learned how to display your covers on Kindle, because apparently there was this option in the Kindle wherein you can can't do that, and so I don't have like random screensavers on screen anymore, which is perfect, which is why I'm holding it up in excitement. But I ended up finishing out reading my arc of this book. It's kind of sent to me and it says it comes out June 3rd. So at the time of the video being recorded right now, it isn't out yet, but when I post this video in a couple of weeks, it will be, if you want to go ahead and read it. The premise of this book is very interesting. We follow this girl called Olivia, who's kind of like a ghostwriter, except her career has been tanking in the past like couple of years or something, because she said something that kind of got her cancelled online. So she isn't having the best time, and then suddenly one day when she's on the cusp of losing her house, she's run out of money completely, she gets this one offer she cannot refuse however badly she wants to, because her agent kind of comes up to her and tells her that this really famous horror novelist called Vincent Taylor is kind of seeking out her help to ghostwrite his own memoir. So back in the 1970s or something like that, he was actually accused of murdering his brother and sister, and so now he's actually wanting to come out finally 50 years into the future, now in present day, and finally tell his side of the story and the truth and kind of defend himself against the allegations, because he never did that. And finally it's time. He's kind of given up. He's gotten sick or something like that, which is the whole reason why he's coming out with it, and so he's not capable to write his own book, which is why he kind of seeks Olivia's help. Except now the whole deal with this is the fact that Olivia is actually his estranged daughter, so she doesn't want to go back see him or whatever, because she does believe that he was responsible for her aunt and uncle's deaths, for their murders or whatever, but she also needs to go back. She cannot help it because she's going to lose her career anyway. She doesn't have much money and she wants to kind of spend the last days of his sickness out with him as much as she can. So she goes back, she kind of starts ghostwriting this book as per his instructions and whatever, as per what he's kind of telling her. Except as they go along with it, there's all these other clues that come in from the past, and suddenly they're not just trying to clear his name, but they're also kind of trying to solve the whole mystery that happened and what really happened to Danny and Poppy the summer of 1975. And I will say, this was alright, this book. The concept in retrospect sounds so interesting because she hasn't got any other premise, so she's kind of forced to take it even if she doesn't want to, and they're kind of going back and uncovering these murders or whatever. Except as you go along with it, it was very frustrating in the sense that there was this one chapter and it would be extremely long and it had no purpose whatsoever. I feel like there was just too much description and detail and it just wouldn't go anywhere except the last couple of pages of the chapter. So I feel like the whole book just gave you that, wherein it was so slow burn that to the end there were only so many characters that I was able to guess everything that happened, which is crazy. I'm running 2 for 2 in terms of thrillers, guessing what happened in this video, and so that's interesting. Maybe I'm getting smarter reading thrillers, but truly there was no like surprise or plot greatness to this. There was no wow moment because I was able to guess everything that actually happened in the timeline. And so unfortunately, because I was bored throughout majority of it and because it was like a slow burn thriller, and from what we've been able to ascertain over the past couple of years on this channel, I'm not really a fangirl of those kinds of books. I'm gonna have to give this one like 2.5 stars. Again, I'm so sorry, but truly thank you anyway, Sourcebook Landmarks, I believe, for my arc of this. I'm so happy I got the chance to read it anyway, and if you guys want to, definitely go pick it up. I have heard great things about this author's other work, and I do have, I believe, The Last Flight by her downloaded, so maybe I'll get to that someday. Not recently though, or not in the near future, because for now I am put off considering this book was really boring. It felt like it was going nowhere. It was just he said, she said, and then not believing her father, kind of going back in past and present timeline, and it was a big jumble to me. I feel like the plot really went nowhere, so unfortunately it wasn't for me, but maybe it'll be for you, so check it out if you want to regardless. And now since we are on that roll, I'm going to continue the streak anyway. I'm going to go look at the next book we have out of the remaining 4 and kind of pick it up, because I have started all books, do not get me wrong, in the past like 4 odd days or whatever that I did not record of this video as I was on the last days of vacation. I did read majority of chunks of these books, so it isn't like a far-fetched theory that I am finishing them out. It's just I still have quite a bit of them left, so I'm worrying, which is why I'm going to go pick up the next one. I'll go finish it out and I'll see you guys hopefully in not so long, and we'll come speak about that one too, and then we'll be a decent way through this video, so I'm not actually terrified about the prospect of kind of trying to finish so many books in one day tomorrow. So see you guys in a bit. Bye. Hi guys, so it's the next day. It's a Saturday right now and it's actually the last day of this challenge, so we really have to buck up and it's time to lock in, spend the next couple hours reading, because that's the only way I foresee myself actually doing this and finishing it as per the way it's supposed to be done, 7 books in 7 days. Because while I didn't necessarily say I'll be doing each book in a day, so 1 book in a day, I still said 7 in 7 days, which means I kind of need to finish that compulsorily, which is why it's time to buck up. So now for update time, since last night I actually did end up sitting out and finishing out kind of of listening to yours truly, and then after finishing that I ended up going to bed because it was really late. But for updates about this book specifically, it's the next one in Abby Jimenez's Part of Your World series. I read the first book in it and there was 5 stars for me, so I knew I had to get to this summer, and I'm so happy I did. Basically it follows this woman called, I think, Brianna, but I'm forgetting. So that's the problem with me. When I read too many books, I literally forget the names. But Brianna, essentially everything in her life is going to shit. Everything's at rock bottom because her divorce is about to be finalized. Her brother is in desperate need for like a kidney donor, and she has this promotion that she was going to be getting, but suddenly she's being passed over for it because they're opting to kind of give a chance to this new man who kind of got recruited at the hospital. And so she's just mad and furious about everything that's going on, and she's taking it out on the new guy. Except one day he kind of starts writing her letters, and suddenly she's wondering if he's so bad after all, because he's just being the little sweetest, kindest man ever. So they kind of start, speaking, whatever, developing this like tentative friendship. They start meeting in this closet to have lunch together, exchanging sob stories, kind of passing jokes about being friendly at work and whatever. And he's kind of acclimating to the new hospital environment. She's kind of helping him, and as they go along with that, he finally decides that he's going to give one of his kidneys. He's going to be the donor for her brother. And as all of this is happening, she finds herself falling for him because he's just such a nice, kind, selfless man, and he's being just so literally incredibly amazing. And so as that's going on, she thinks, I would do literally anything for him. Except one day he kind of does need a favor, so they start fake dating in terms of that favor, and things just go from left to right. They start falling for each other, both of them, except she isn't really sure about the idea of love because her first marriage ended really badly. And so as they're navigating all of this, she's not really sure if she can be with him, but also he is the best. Honestly, as we went along with the book, I was falling for him too, and so she kind of needs to decide what she's gonna do about it, and that's where it goes from. I honestly love the fake dating aspect of it and the letters because that was so sweet. But before anything, can I quickly just say the anxiety rep in this book was done so well. Jacob, the guy, he has anxiety, and can I just say, some thoughts that this man was thinking are literal spiraling thoughts I've had before. And so it's crazy the way Abby Jimenez does this, wherein you relate to the characters and also you kind of have a great time with them. I was giggling so hard, spooning so hard, but also feeling so bad for the characters when there were some things they couldn't work out, and so incredibly happy for my little best friends when they actually made it through, and their love kind of proved itself. And so this was such a fun story to read. I feel like all of her romances have this like deeper emotional connect and level that I really enjoy reading, and her writing style is so good. This is my second book by her, but it's easily, now she's becoming like a top author for me. If I had to like put her in my list, she'd probably be in my top 5 easy, with Emily Henry up there, because honestly, I'm obsessed with her books. I can't wait to pick up the next one in the series. I actually have it physically, and so I'm gonna get to that soon. But I'm so happy I read this, and I'm so happy I had a good time doing so, because this video was probably the worst time ever. I was finding such mediocre reads, and this book is anything but mediocre. I honestly loved every second, and this was truly it. The acts of service in this were done so well, and it's all the little things that count, and I love reading it, going along with it as a hopeless romantic, because this is my favorite time, literally. Watching the two of them also fall for each other from like the very beginning is so sweet, and honestly, I want to give both of them a hug and protect Jacob and Brianna at all costs, because these two humans deserve nothing but joy and happiness. And so I'm happy they finally got it with the book, the happy ending or whatever, and I can't wait to see who the next one is about. So I'm gonna go get to that very soon. But so far, I'm giving this book 4 stars. It wasn't as good as the first one in the series. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but for me specifically, I loved that, and I loved this too, but it just wasn't 5-star material because I'm very picky with my 5 stars. So regardless, I had a great time reading, and now I will move on to the next book. Like I said, I had like a school event today, and I got back very late from it. So by the time I went there and did all of that, in the midst of it, I was reading on my phone, kind of listening to a book out and then randomly reading in the middle, getting all of it done. And so in the midst of all this multitasking, I'm nearly done with the next book as well. So I'm gonna go finish it out, sit down, lock in for the last couple chapters, and see you guys hopefully in a bit once I'm done with that, so we can speak about that book too. And then we'll have only 2 books left for this video, which is great because it's nightfall. I don't know how much longer I can stay up and actually do this challenge because I am exhausted, and so we'll have to see where this goes. But see you guys in a bit. Bye. So I had very little left, and I've gone ahead and finished our next book out as well. It's called Our Final Love Song, and so here's a quick summary before anything. It follows, I think, Jamie, and I forgot her name. I literally just finished 1 second ago, but I forgot her name. But it follows Jamie and this girl, and they've been high school sweethearts. It's now their 5th year running of their relationship, except as all relationships go, it isn't like smooth sailing failing or whatever, and in the worst possible way, because now they seem to be falling apart. So not everything is great. He is a little too dedicated to his craft of playing the piano. He's not really giving her time, and she's kind of sick of putting up with it. She kind of wants to be treated properly and correctly in the relationship, so she kind of tells him that it's time to take a step back, call it quits maybe. And as she does so, she's actually telling him, I think her name is Emma actually, I just remembered. So Emma is actually telling him that they should, kind of break it off or whatever, as they're on their way to the summer camp retreat they kind of go to every single year. So while they're on the way to the retreat, she kind of tells him that, listen, hey, let's just call it off. Except once they get there and suddenly they're worrying about how it's over, maybe they have more problems, because as soon as they make it to their summer camp that they kind of go to every year, they figure out that they're the only two people who have traveled 1 year back in time. So I don't know if that's really making sense, my summary, but essentially everyone in the summer camp, their past selves from 1 year ago, these two are from the future, and suddenly they have actually rewound into summer camp from 1 year ago, and it's only the two of them that have actually gotten through all of this. So they kind of need to figure out how to get back to modern day, because they have a lot going on then. But as they're doing so, they're kind of wondering if this is like their own do-over to kind of fix their relationship too, because a lot went down, a lot went wrong, and as they're doing so, they're kind of making up this fake dating charade or whatever, because they were really happy the previous year and everyone saw them really happy, so they kind of need to keep up appearances. But that as it happens, they kind of start to fall for each other again, and so it's kind of like a second chance. And I love the way it was done, I love the way it was portrayed. I'm just gonna say one thing for this book. For me personally, nerdy men will do it every single time. So when we were discovering like certain bits about Jamie, I was swooning so hard. This got me so down bad, and so I'm happy I read it. I have read a different book by this author, which was also a second chance. I think it was called The Infinity Between Us, and while that was a little bit better than this, I had a great time regardless. And she's so good when it comes to these second chances, because genuinely no one does second chance the way N.S. Perkins does, and I'm so happy I read this because I had such a great time. I love the themes explored in this book, because it wasn't just about their love, it was also kind of realizing background stuff with the other characters, and kind of paying them attention, not getting lost in one relationship. And then not just that, kind of realizing your passion and craft for something and not forcing yourself into things you kind of don't want to go to just to keep up people's expectations of you. That really makes no sense if you haven't read this book, but regardless, I had a great time going deeper into this book the way it was portrayed, and so hopefully you'll go read it too one day if you want to, if you're interested in it. And for me, this was like 3.5 stars, because the whole time travel aspect, like you can kind of guess it off the bat why it happens, and so when they get back to modern day, it was a little too predictable. I would have expected a little better storyline for that, and the plot lines after that got a little confusing, the timeline. So apart from that, it was a great time. I loved their romance, and I was cheering from them and the background characters from the very beginning, and it was a great summer read. So it's got me excited for the season now. I can't wait to go have like a great summer, kind of live up to the aesthetic, and so I'm happy I read this. This was 3.5 stars like I said. And now quickly moving on to our next book, because I have quite a bit of it to read right now, so I'm just gonna go do that and lock in before dinner, because listen, we need to get this done tonight, and I have 2 more books still to go. So I'm gonna get into reading, and I'll see you guys hopefully in a bit. Bye. So it's not that much longer later. I have finished our 6th book for this video, and I'm so confident that we are getting done with the challenge actually by tonight, because listen, nothing's stopping me now. I ended up kind of reading out and finishing Marry Me Darling, which is kind of like a Christmas bonus epilogue kind of novella for this other book I've read, and so even though it was 50 pages long, it still counts as a book because Goodreads showcases it as one, so I'm going to count it as a book in this video anyway. I don't really care if it's cheating, because in my opinion it's a book. But basically this book actually takes place after the events of Meet Me Halfway, a different book I read in a different video like a few weeks ago at this point while I was on vacation. It was kind of like this romance book between this single mom and her grumpy neighbor, and essentially this is kind of like an extended epilogue. So it takes place right after, in the same sequence of timeline of events from the first book, Meet Me Halfway, and this is kind of like a conclusion to that story, because as I read in the author's afterward, she kind of said that the mom, Maddie, she got like a happy ending or her conclusion, but her son did not. So this book was kind of like giving her son that happy ending too, and honestly I think I lost it at that. I'm holding back tears right now because that is the sweetest thing ever. Me personally, whenever I read like these bonus epilogues, I generally always complain saying they weren't really required, we didn't really need them, wasn't necessary, because the story could have stopped where it did in the original book. Here I think the complete opposite. This was so necessary, it was so crucial to the story and important, because I'm so happy I actually figured out this exists. I was randomly just scrolling through the series kind of trying to figure out if I want to continue continue it or not. And I, stumbled across this gem, and I'm so happy I did, and kind of finished reading it out, because it basically follows Maddie, the mom, who's kind of now going to meet her boyfriend Garrett, who is a grumpy neighbor, his mom, and she kind of, is scared about getting approval from his mom, because she knows how protective mothers can be over their children, but also she has like a Christmas surprise intended for all of them, and if she gets the approval, she can go ahead with that, and it's like a huge thing that could change all of their lives potentially. So she's just scared, and they're going to be spending Christmas at his family, I guess, country house or whatever. So the vibes are there, the aesthetic is there. Is it the death of someone? I'm reading a Christmas book? Yes. Do I care? No, because I live for these Christmas extended epilogue novellas or whatever. I had such a great time with this one. I feel like Garrett is just so sweet, kind, supportive and caring, and Maddie is just such a strong, independent, fierce woman, and together the combination absolutely slays every single time. I also love getting Jamie's kind of point of view in the story, and I loved how all of them finally got the happy ending that they deserve, because I loved the first book so much, and I'm so happy I got to read this one, and I'm so happy I actually discovered that it exists in the first place, because now truly the ending, it was such like a final conclusion, but also it was so sweet and I had a great time. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars, because I usually just give shorter length books that kind of rating, simply because it isn't diving too deep into it, but also it's a very happy 3 stars considering I had such a great time kind of reading it out and watching their story finish, because I've wanted to read this since I figured it exists, and I'm so happy I did now, because it truly gave me everything it had to, considering I really liked the first book in it, and this feels great. We're actually getting some series done. So now I'm gonna go get back into the last book. I have 1 hour left on the audiobook sped up, because I've been listening ever since in the middle of errands and stuff. So we're getting done tonight definitely, and so I'm gonna go do that and see you guys maybe hopefully in a bit once I'm done with it, and we can conclude the challenge finally, because it's time. See you guys in a bit. Bye. Alright guys, so it's now the next evening. It's Sunday right now. It's been exactly like a week. I started this challenge last Sunday while I was on vacation. Still feels weird to say, because I wish I was still there. I don't like getting back to my work schedule, as you can probably tell, and here we are. But regardless, I have gotten the book done. I actually stayed up yesterday before going to bed and finished the whole thing out, because I didn't want to cheat the challenge or whatever, and so we finished the last book for this video, and so let's finally talk about that. But also, I managed to do that whole reading 7 books in 2 odd days in the span of what I had left, so I'm happy and proud about myself despite how worried I was earlier. Just like our previous book, I wanted to continue the kind of streak of finishing off series I was in the middle of whatever, so it kind of made sense to kind of pick up the last book in the Borrows series, and this is coming so full circle right now, because I started that I think in the year I started my YouTube, and it's been like a couple years since. So finally I've read the last book now. I haven't been putting it off, and it's over. That's crazy and wild to say, but I managed to finish reading the Borrows Avenged, or I was kind of listening to it as I, unpacked, did a couple of other things I needed to do, and basically this book essentially follows these little people called the Borrowers. For context, if you haven't heard of the whole storyline or whatever, because it's very popular in every household, be it the books or the movies, they follow these tiny people who could be like the size of your finger or whatever, and they're like essentially dwarfs or whatever, except they walk around in your world borrowing. For example, you bought like bobby pins last week or something, and they're all going missing now, or if you bought hair ties and you just cannot seem to find any when you actually need them. The concept is that these borrowers kind of borrow these human items or whatever, and they kind of use it in their own household to kind of run their life or whatever, and so they're just borrowing it from humans or whatever, and that's how they're living in human nooks and crannies. Now this essentially specifically takes place after the events of the previous book, and I will say I do love the fact that these books generally start off with human perspective, and then after a couple of chapters of recap you jump right in, so like there's no gap or anything. Exactly where you left off in the previous book, you jump right into the borrower's perspective. Now you're trying to figure out what they're up to, and there's always some sort of like mystery challenge or something going on, except I will say the last book I read in the series, the 4th one, it was so much better than this one. I feel like this one, at this point, it just felt like the series was being prolonged for much longer than it already needed to be. Like I feel like honestly, if I were to go ahead and rank the series, I would just honestly say go read the first one and then maybe stop after that, because after the first one I feel like for some reason the appeal really died down for me, and then this one specifically I feel like there was just no point to it, because there were so many aspects thrown in here. There was like a whole murder storyline, I guess, introduced with ghosts or whatever, that went nowhere. We had like a different love interest for one of our main characters introduced. went nowhere. And then I'm so mad because we actually had stuff going on in the last like 20% of the book, but once we finally got to the ending, we didn't really get like a whole conclusion of what happened to everyone. We just got this random epilogue kind of showing you what happens in a vague sense about the previous or the second last chapter or whatever in the humans, and it doesn't really tell you what happened to the borrowers next or their conclusion to the story. So I'm still to go look into it, but I do believe this one is the last in the series, which is frankly frustrating that I read like 5 books. I have no conclusion on what happened to the borrowers after all the events of the last book, and so I'm being intentionally vague because I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm just saying if you are to read it, literally just stop after the first one. That's probably what I'm going to go tell my sister, who's going to read it at some point as well, because I don't see the purpose in it. Honestly, I just feel like it was prolonged, maybe for no reason, but also people will come after me when I say that because it is a classic, and so I'm trying not to show too many strong opinions here. But regardless, I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. This was by far my least favorite in the series. I feel like the first book was 4 stars for me. The rest of the books were 3.5. This is 2.5. I'm so sorry. I just wasn't able to get myself to pay attention. I kept zoning out, wasn't genuinely interested. So we've come full circle. We have finished the series out, but was it worth it really? I'm not really so sure, but it does give wholesome, whimsical, almost Howl's Moving Castle vibes. Not the storyline, just the cozy fantasy vibes. So if you want to read something like that, this is definitely something you can consider picking up. And with that, we have finished this vlog. Hopefully you guys had a fun time coming along with me, watching me kind of read 7 books in 7 days, except it was filmed over the span of 3 days because I started the video early on vacation and had no clips from then. So regardless, we still have managed to pull through and we got that done, and this was episode 2 of the whole overarching reading 50 books in 50 days. Now I'm thinking I want to do like an episode of this in long form format or whatever every month, so that way I can balance it in the middle of other reading, so I'm not like slumping out in terms of YouTube or whatever. So I'll go figure out how I do it next, but maybe I'll see you again next month, same time or whatever, trying to figure out another 7 books in 7 days. So if you've got specific recommendations for in a month's time for me to come to get to reading, let me know in the comments and I'll hopefully get to them in episode 3 of reading 50 books in 50 days. Like I said, we're going to be breaking it up, so 1 week at a time, and now that we've finished week 2 out of 7, we still have quite the way to go. So definitely, consider giving me opinions and stuff on how you feel like I should continue the series, because there is quite some left to continue with. So I'll go figure that out. But regardless, if you did enjoy, like, comment, share, subscribe. YouTube things, you know how to do them, and I'll see you hopefully very, very soon in my next vlog, and then also very, very soon when I end up recording episode 3 of reading 50 books in 50 days, because we have to finish this year. I won't write that down, but I'm gonna try to. Regardless, I'll see you very soon. Bye. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.